Welcome, everyone, to another discussion on Ashram Talks. Last week with Simon Haas, we were talking about offering the results of our work. But first of all, is this even possible, right? Why would we offer our hard work to someone else? What's the point of doing something if it's not for ourselves? But at the same time, when we consider our own experiences personally, oftentimes when I anticipate the results, I get anxious. Things don't turn out how I was anticipating. And even when they do, it feels like it's not enough, right? And either way, we're just on to the next goal. So, this topic brings us to our verse today. And to guide us in our discussion, we're joined by Haripriya Benedict, experienced yoga teacher, joining us from Florida. Welcome, Haripriya. We're so happy to have you on with us again today.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here today and to discuss more of Krishna's knowledge that he's imparted through the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, absolutely. We love discussing this with you too. Without further ado, whenever you're ready, we can get started.
Okay, great. So there's a few analogies kind of bumping around in my head right now. And one of them that I'll just kind of start off with is if you have like $1 million, within that $1 million is $1,000. Within that $1 million is $350. Within that $1 million is $100,000. So the verse today is very much about how something smaller is automatically there when we have the source, when we have something bigger. So, and then when we get into that, we're going to also speak a little bit about the purpose of all the Vedas, like all the texts, all the Bhagavad Gitas, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamritas, all these books that have so much, and it can get kind of like, it's amazing. It's such an abundance of information. And today we're actually going to just touch on what's the point of all of it. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get that synopsis. And we get it directly from Bhagavad Gita in chapter 15. So today we're we're in chapter 2, text 46. And I will begin with a little bit of gratitude from my heart to my guru. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Okay, so all purposes that are served by the small pond can at once be served by the great reservoirs of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. So the analogy, Srila Prabhupada helped us understand this by speaking about in India, many, many moons ago, there were, well, it might still be happening in villages, but there was, the tradition was before everybody was living in big cities, most of the population are in small villages. And in these small villages, there's many wells, many places where we can get water, like the small pond here in this verse. So there were many wells, but because the well was still water, it wasn't like a flowing river. So, they were sure not to cross-contaminate. Means like there would be one well where you took a bath, where everyone would go there and they'd get the water and take a bath. And then there'd be one well where everyone would go there to wash dishes or do their laundry. And then there was another well for drinking, right? So when you came to the drinking well, you already had a bath, you already were clean. So then you wouldn't have, there'd be less opportunity for you to take that well water and put any bacteria or contaminants in that so that it could be drinking water. So this analogy of all these wells that serve all these different purposes, right? We drink, we take baths, we wash our clothes, we wash our dishes. And so then Srila Prabhupada said that, so if you had a flowing river that was constantly moving water, then from that place, actually, you can do all those things. Like you can go in that river and you can take a bath and then it's flowing. So all of that, dirty water or bacterias flow away. And then you can go in that river and take for washing your clothes or washing your pots. So in this analogy, Srila Prabhupada was very clearly stating that ultimately the purpose of all the Vedas actually serves all of our desires. So the purpose of the Vedas is voiced in chapter 15, in text 15, where Krishna says, by all the Vedas, and Veda means knowledge, it's referring to all the books of knowledge, I am to be known. So the purpose, for one who knows the purpose, this text said all purposes of the Vedas, and there's different purposes, and we'll speak about that. People have different purposes, right? Different desires. Maybe you desire to like enjoy life. Maybe you desire to be happy. You desire for suffering to stop. You desire to feel safe, secure, maybe to have wealth so that you feel stable. Maybe there's desires like a yogi, maybe desires to be in Zen, in like meditation or samadhi, where they're in bliss. A bhakta might desire to have a reciprocal loving relationship where there's like offerings and receiving love. So we can see that we all have these kind of different desires. But in this class today, we're going to go a little bit deeper in understanding that all of those purposes, the desire for love, the desire for like jnanis, I didn't mention jnanis. Jnanis is like someone who's seeking knowledge. They want wisdom. They want to know everything, and they want to know as much as possible, right? So there's wanting to know, there's wanting to love, there's wanting security, there's wanting enjoyment, there's wanting bliss. So there's so many desires that we have. And actually all of those are served in the Vedas. All of those desires are served by knowing God. And I remember when I first heard that, I thought, what? How is that possible that just by knowing God and loving God, everything is known? And actually now in my kind of more, it's been many years of practice, I can feel that. I can feel that that's true. Like I know, like I worship God as Radha Govinda or Radhe Shyam, like this feminine and masculine aspect of God. And like I have a picture of Radha Govinda right here on my desk. And it's like when I look at Radha Govinda, I'm like, my heart melts. Like I feel this love. And I know he's got my back. I know he's taking care of me. He's taken care of me in so many different instances because of our relationship, because I go to him as my source of shelter. When I'm frustrated or in anxiety or I'm suffering, I go to him. I go directly to the source of my soul, of who I'm intrinsically connected with. And I might still speak with friends or my husband or my loved ones, but ultimately I know that if I really, really want clarity and I want a deep answer, then I go to Radha Govinda or Radhe Shyam. And in this text, it says, all purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. So the Vedas have all kinds of information. They have information about how to enjoy more. Last class, we spoke about maybe someone wanting to enjoy opulence and get like more wealth. So they speak about that. The Vedas speak about how to accomplish that. And the purpose of the Vedas in chapter 15, when Krishna says, it's chapter 15, text 15, by all the Vedas, I am to be known. So here it's saying all the purposes, all the things you want are given to you when you know the purpose behind the Vedas. And the purpose behind the Vedas is to know Krishna. And when we know Krishna, we love him. And actually, there's a little bit of a chicken and the egg there of when Srila Prabhupada once said, how can you love someone if you don't know them, right? So sometimes we talk about God and we're like, God, I love God. And the question is like, how well do we know him? Like really, truly, how much time do we spend getting to know him, right? I mean, we spend time getting to know other people. How much time do we actually spend really even just in contemplation of God? Like all of his aspects, or maybe reading the Vedas to learn what he does, what he's like, what his personality is like, what his knowledge is. Bhagavad Gita is him speaking. So it's him giving knowledge. So when we get to know God, love naturally comes. Just like when we get to know a human, love naturally comes. And when we love someone, we want to know them more. So when we start to feel love for Krishna, love for God, we naturally want to learn more about him. We want to know him more deeply. So it's this chicken and the egg that they fuel each other. It doesn't matter which comes first, actually, in a sense. If your purpose is first just to know Krishna, like who is God? What is God? Or if your purpose is like, I really want to feel love with someone who's permanent. either way, it's going to lead to knowledge and love and knowledge and love. So now this claim that when we know Krishna, we know everything. I remember hearing that. I remember hearing that phrase and thinking, how is that possible? Like, if we know Krishna, we know everything. And the way I see it right now in my practical life is, like, for example, I'm a coach. I'm a life coach, right? And so I'm coaching someone right now, and I see the suffering that they're experiencing. And as they get more and more clear, like as they peel away layers of their beliefs, then they start to see themselves more clearly, and a lot of the suffering starts to go away. So I'm noticing that as we know God and as we know ourselves, then a lot of the misconceptions start to disappear. And most of our suffering is actually coming from misconceptions. Most of our suffering is coming from identifying ourselves with the body, identifying ourselves with bodily relationships, identifying ourselves with bodily desires. And all of this is natural, and I still have those things. I'm not saying not to have them. I'm just sharing that if we spiritualize them, then it's a whole new ballgame. Then even the suffering that comes our way, we can handle it because we understand that the goal is not to eliminate the experience. It's not to avoid pain. The goal is self-realization. The goal is knowing myself, loving myself, knowing God and loving God. So, and those go together. And if that's my goal, then when challenges come my way, I'm like, okay, I can handle this because I'm a soul. I'm not just Haripriya that's, didn't get what she wanted, right? Like, I'm a soul, and there's something here for me. Maybe it's increasing my tolerance. Maybe it's increasing my humility. Maybe it's increasing my knowledge. Maybe it's increasing my empathy for others, right? So there's always these pearls that come in our suffering, in our pain. And when we have the right consciousness, right? The pearls are not always there when we don't have the right consciousness, when we are a victim, when we're like, I'm a victim, I'm powerless, I'm poor me, I'm like, then in that consciousness, there's so much more pain. The pain is augmented. It's like increased. So right now we're in the chapter where Krishna is talking about karma yoga, right? And karma yoga, so he first speaks about the nature of the soul, like this analytical study of knowing. He's speaking to Arjuna and saying, okay, you need to know who you really are permanently. And you need to know who these other souls on this battlefield really are permanently, so that you can see more clearly, so that you can pull back and see the broader vision of what's actually happening here. Don't just see the human vision, but see the spiritual vision. And then he's giving us karma yoga, which is, I love how Sundar Prabhu, Simon Hass says, he calls it skillful action. Skillful action. So karma yoga means action and union with ourselves, union with God, like knowing, connecting with what's real and permanent, right? So in that, there's three pieces, and one piece, and it's covered in other classes, but I'll just touch on it. One piece is living your purpose, like living on purpose, being connected to your nature, like what inspires you, right? And then another piece is giving up the fruits, which, we spoke about a little bit in the introduction, and I'll elaborate a little bit on that by the famous writer of Eat, Love, Pray, actually, how that knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita of giving up the fruits of our action totally liberated her and empowered her to be on purpose and to be powerful and to achieve so many goals, but to not be fazed by the ups and the downs of, publishing books and that roller coaster. So at first, the idea of giving up the fruit sounds counterintuitive. And then when we follow it, though, we become so much more potent, so much more capable of achieving even much more than we dreamed of, much more than we envisioned, because we're coming from a place of detachment. So then there's no anxiety, there's no hankering, there's no fear. It's like we're committed and detached. It's very different. It's very different than just like, I'm detached, I'm going to do nothing. It's detachment of letting go of the fruits means whether I succeed at whatever the goal is, whether I succeed or not at this goal, I'm going for it. Because we're not attached to the fruits. Now we don't have that, like, what if I don't? So it actually empowers us to accomplish our goals with more efficiency and more potency, more power. So giving up the fruits, and there's so much I can elaborate on that. And then the last one is doing it as an offering. Whatever we do, doing our work as an offering, and in that we're in union. We're in union with God. So like even whatever your work is, if we have the consciousness, the energy of like, I'm going to do this for Krishna, I'm going to do this for my source, we're now not even dependent on those around us recognizing us, appreciating us, and like noticing. Like, for example, as a mother, when I have the consciousness of I'm doing this for my son, and then he doesn't like it, like he's not grateful, I get frustrated. I feel this like, wow, I did so much and he doesn't even care. But now if I'm in the consciousness of I'm serving this, my son, I'm serving this soul that has been entrusted in my care for this lifetime, I'm serving him for Krishna. I'm serving him for, Radha Govinda, Radhe Sham. I'm serving him for someone who I love, who loves me and who loves him, someone who loves and cares about him more than I do. Then, I mean, that just gave me goosebumps. Like, then my son can even flip out and be ungrateful. And I am like, I'm untouched. It's like, oh, that's his experience. So I'm coming from it from this detachment of like, Krishna's the one that's going to give me my juice, right? I'm going to Krishna at the end of the night, like, hey, I did my best, and thank you for the abilities that you gave me. And then my son, I see comments coming in. Commitment and detachment. Thank you. That's a gift. Yes, right? Because sometimes we say detachment, and it's like that's so for me. That's very incomplete. It can be misunderstood so easily. Detachment, like I don't care. Well, that's not actually what Krishna is saying. He's not saying, "Oh, Arjuna, just don't care what happens on this battlefield." Like he's saying, work for the sake of working. Fight because that's your work. So fight, work for the sake of working, fight for the sake of fighting, because that, and do it as an offering to me, because at this time there is, it's what's needed. It's what Krishna wants. So at this time, the rulers are completely selfish and like have so many unattractive qualities that are not serving the people, and Krishna wants you to steer to be the one that's serving the people, because he has righteousness and he has integrity and humility and grace and love and compassion. So this is what Krishna wants. And so he's sharing with Arjuna, like, don't think about the fruits, because could drive you crazy, like, right, as Sienna said in the beginning, that can drive you crazy. Like whatever our goal is, if we're so attached to the end game, sometimes we miss the amazing gifts that are happening when it comes in a different way. So to kind of come back, offering our work to God it's a fulfilling experience. So I'm offering my service to my son, to God, right? That's the same as Arjuna saying, okay, Krishna, I'm going to fight for you. I'm not fighting so that I get a kingdom, so that I get happiness or enjoyment, because then fear comes, right? Fear is like, what if I don't get happiness or enjoyment, right? He says, like, what if I'm miserable because of the death of people I love, right? So that's then he's susceptible. If he's in the consciousness of calculating the outcome and the fruits, and he's attached to those fruits, then he's also bound by anxiety, fear, and he's no longer as powerful, no longer as potent. So letting go of our fruits and offering it to Krishna actually transforms our entire experience, right? And whatever we do. So even the writer of Eat, Love, Pray, I loved and I was touched when she said the Bhagavad Gita really shifted things for her, and that in the quote of the Bhagavad Gita where it says, you're not entitled to the fruits of your work, which is also in chapter 2, actually. It's the next verse that you get, I think, very soon, next Monday, probably. So she said that freed her up. So when the fruits were not, what she wanted, right, then they weren't hers. So it was okay. When the fruits were what she wanted, then they also weren't hers. So she wasn't like lost in that success either. She didn't lose herself in the failures when people were saying, no, I'm not going to even publish your book. And she didn't lose herself in the success of like, you're famous, there's been a movie is being made out of your book, you're a national bestseller, etc. She didn't lose herself. She was able to stay steady in what she loves, being a writer and offering that as a service. So it actually frees us. And then going back to the river analogy, right? Like this idea that the river is knowing God, that flowing river that serves all purposes is knowing Krishna. And so when we really know Krishna, and there's many different ways to know Krishna, but I'll say that he says, one who offers me love and service, to that person I give knowledge, right? Like you think about a famous person, like any famous person that you might want to meet. Like picture somebody who's, maybe inspiring to you, and you think, I want to know that person. So there's a few things that have to come into place for you to actually know that person. You can read about them, you can hear about them. Those things will give you knowledge about that person. And then even more knowledge would be if you were able to meet that person. Now, usually the best way to meet someone is to be introduced by a friend, right? If you have a mutual friend, then, oh yeah, I'm friends with this person and they're friends with this person. So they could introduce me, they can be a connection. And that's what a guru is. That's actually what a spiritual teacher is. He's introducing us to God because he knows God, right? A guru, a teacher who has spent their whole life immersed in serving God and loving God, they know God. Maybe they even came from a spiritual realm to this planet to give us knowledge. And they know God very well. And so if we get close to our guru and we develop a loving relationship where we're serving our guru, because that's also in the Bhagavad Gita, it talks about serving your guru, serving your teacher. And then you're serving with love. And then they are seeing that and they want to give something to you, right? Like if someone comes and serves you in any way, you naturally feel love in your heart. You want to give back to them. So that's happening on the spiritual platform, actually. That's like from the soul. So the same happens with our teachers. So if our teacher wants to give us their blessings, they give us realizations. They give us internal knowledge about who God is. We can actually get to know God, right? So I love using like English slang. Like I've said things in the past, like, let's hang out with God. Like how much time do we spend hanging out with God? So it's the same concept. How much time do we spend like getting to know God? Like, so there's this element of being really clear on what the end game is, because here it's very clear that if you know the end game, all your other purposes or desires come to pass. And I can say I'm like a testament to that. I feel peace, I feel satisfaction, I feel freedom from anxiety and stress. I feel very purposeful. I'm very ambitious. Actually, I have some very ambitious goals in the material world, and yet I have no attachment to them coming out the way I'm looking at it, the way I'm intending. But I know that if I do my part, then I've succeeded. I've already succeeded. I'm not dependent on what the external result looks like, because I've offered myself fully in service, in love, and on purpose, something that lights my fire in a way that inspires me, right? And so it's been an amazing journey. I've had like millions of ups and downs. I've suffered and I've been in the thick of it. And now when I'm even, coaching others that are in the thick of it, I say, coming back again and again to who am I? Who am I really? And who's God? Who's God really? Then that serves all of your purposes. No matter what it is that you desire, you're going to be connected to that, because all qualities and all experiences actually are also connected to God. So whether you're, wanting knowledge, or whether you're wanting freedom from pain, or whether you're wanting enjoyment, all of that actually comes when you plug in to your position and your relationship, and to someone who's so full of love. Like, we can't even imagine how much love there is for us. There's so much love. There's so much appreciation for any moment that we pause and give our attention to our source. They say when you take one step towards Krishna, and I'm going to misquote this, I'm sure, but it's like Krishna takes 1,000 towards you. And that's like the essence of it, but I'm sure it's not those exact numbers. But I wanted to share that. So understanding Krishna, yeah, is the essence of the Vedas. And like the analogy I started out with is, if you have $1,000,000, right? If you know God, that's knowing God. If you have $1,000,000, if you know God, then you have you have $100, you have $20, you have $1,000, you have 100,000. So you have opulence. Actually, you have you can even have all these qualities that we strive for, like maybe we have fame or wealth or strength or beauty, right? But we're not living for those things. We're not misunderstanding that those things are what brings me bliss and lights me up. We're living from like, I'm a soul. Actually, I'm tiny and I'm powerful. I'm tiny and I'm powerful. And I'm connected to someone who's like the most powerful person in the world. And when I'm connected in that mood of like love and offering myself to God, then all those things are in my experience, but I'm not living for those things. Yeah. So we have knowledge, and we have security, right? A lot of us want money because we want security. We want to feel safe. But when you know Krishna and you love and serve Krishna, you feel the most safe you could ever feel. Because even when death is knocking at our door, we can go, I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going, and I know who has my back. I know who's going to hold me through that experience, because none of our friends, none of our loved ones, none of our fans on Instagram are going to hold us in that moment, right? So we think, oh, I want this. I want to, I want the perfect spouse. That spouse is going to say goodbye to us. So if we're depending only on that, we're very weak, and then we don't feel safe and we don't feel secure. But if we're serving Krishna and we're spending our time wanting to know Krishna more, like let me really focus in here and like spend quality time every day reading about God in some way and feeding that, then when death is knocking at our door, we're going to feel peace. We're going to feel like, okay, off to the next adventure. What's the next vehicle I'm gifted? What's the next adventure of service for my Lord? So hopefully that gives you some inspiration, and that's my offering for today. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Haripriya. There were so many gems, or pearls, as you called them, in everything that you shared today. I also love that you touch on, it's okay to have ambitious goals in the material world. How, and I know you touched on this, and I'm sure there's no short answer, but how has that process been for you to, be able to retain these goals and keep moving forward, but also be detached from the results?
Mhm. I mean, that's a great question. So I'm going to reflect your question to make sure I understand it. You're saying, like, in my experience, like, okay, I have a specific goal in mind, right, that I'm meditating on and I'm focused on, and it's an ambitious goal, and I'm not losing sight of my real goal. I think that's what's helping me, is that my real goal is an offering to God. That's my real goal in that. And so I guess I've transformed my goal, and I've transformed it through feeling more fulfilled. I realized, like, in the beginning, I'll speak to it a little bit. Like, in the beginning, say my goal was, fame, but like, to be a little bit general, but like, say my goal was fame. Then if I don't get fame, I'm disappointed. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. If I'm attached to fame, then I'm like hungry for it. I'm like, I'm weak. Actually, I'm incredibly weak because I'm searching outside of me for fulfillment, right? But if I understand, actually, I don't want fame. And why is that? The desire for fame goes away. Actually, well, I'll be honest, my process was praying to God to take the desire away. That was my process. Like understanding that I have enough knowledge that I know that if I'm famous, that's not going to bring me the feelings that I'm actually wanting, right? Like for me, I wanted fame because I wanted to serve in a very large way, right? I wanted to spread truth and knowledge like to millions of people, right? And I also wanted to feel important. I wanted to feel like I mattered. And so I can look at that and like dissect it and peel it back. And even in New York, when I used to teach yoga nidra to a lot of people, I would say, look at your desire, whatever it is, wealth, fame, beauty, a husband, a kid, whatever it is, a good job, millions of followers, whatever your desires, look at it, peel it back, get to the essence. What do you really want underneath? So peel that back. And so I peeled it back for myself, and I got to like, I want to feel seen. I remember looking at like a famous person and being like, why do I want this? Why? I want to know why. I want to be curious. Like, how come? Because I might miss the boat if I'm not really clear about what's underneath that first desire. What's at the core of it? Because some people will be at the core, like they want to be creative. Like they just want to have the freedom to work in a creative field and feel, or maybe they want, security, like money. They want fame because they know that'll bring them money. And so they want to feel safe. Or maybe they want, like they want to feel seen. Like I wanted to feel seen. And as soon as I understood that, I was like, oh, I want to feel seen. Well, is it going to satisfy me to be seen by some people who will love me and some people who will hate me? Like really, let's look at the reality, right? Fame brings infamy too. Like fame brings haters, right? So we know that. That's just reality. So then I was like, oh, okay. So if I want to be seen, who do I really want to be seen by? And then I understood two people, God and myself. And I was then able to pray, Krishna, like take that, the desire of wanting to be seen by others, take that away. I want to be seen, and that's a beautiful desire. There's nothing wrong with it. And I want to be seen by you, Sham Sundar. I want to feel seen by you. And I do. I have a picture of him right now. He's looking at me and I feel seen. And so I was fulfilled. I feel fulfilled. The core of that desire is fulfilled. And so now if I'm seeking, now I have this idea. I have an idea. I teach these, I'm starting to teach, I should say. I teach workshops, and I'm starting to learn how to teach seminars, like 4-day seminars, all day intensives that are amazing. They're a communication approach to self-realization, essentially. So it's about communication, how we speak to ourselves, how we speak to others. And based on that, how do we know ourselves truly deeply underneath all the layers, right? Like what I just did for myself of peeling back the layer. Why do I want fame? Well, how come? What do I actually want? So that's knowing yourself. And then from that perspective, so now I want to offer it to the masses. I would love, I have a vision, I have a specific goal that I won't share out loud, but it's a very specific goal, to share the seminar that I teach, the workshop that would be expanded into a 4-day seminar that already exists. My teacher teaches it, who has a PhD and is incredible personality, incredible soul, full of knowledge and depth and wisdom. And he's kind of created this 4-day seminar. And now I want to teach it, and I'm very clear about what I want to achieve with that. And what I want to achieve also is to try to help bring the knowledge that's in these 4 days, the knowledge, the depth of knowledge that's in this, to help us all raise our consciousness more, raise our awareness. Because the more awareness we have, the more free we are. Actually, the more choice we have, the more free we are. We're not controlled by externals. And the more satisfied we are, and the more true we are to ourselves, right? So those core principles I would love to bring to the masses, and I have an idea of how I want to do that, and that's still a goal. And if it's accomplished, wonderful. It's Krishna's, because he's the only one that can help actually accomplish it. I'm not I understand that we all need so much help to actually accomplish goals, right? So and if I don't accomplish it, I've done my all to serve in that way. Like, so I'm no longer attached to like it happening. I'm attached to me giving everything I've got to offer that service that I have in mind, to offer that to the world. Because this seminar, and there's a 7-day seminar, and then there's a coach training program. There's all these facets, but all of that completely changed my life. It wasn't just reading Bhagavad Gita. It was Bhagavad Gita along with self-development. And self-development means being honest with ourselves. So in that sense, I was able to detach myself from the fruits, which is what the Gita says. And some people are more simple than me. They can read this and maybe they just say, oh, I'm going to do this. Right? So Srila Prabhupada used to say, Krishna consciousness or God consciousness, it's simple for the simple and it's complicated for the complicated. And for me, I had many layers of misconceptions, and I used psychology and these the principles of self-development alongside of knowing who I am. And that's really actually what freed me. To live a purposeful life without attachment to the results, and still very clear and committed to my goal.
Thank you so much, Haripriya. Very powerful. And I know you've shared other experiences about like letting go of other desires in the past. So definitely a lot for us to reflect on this week. We also have a nice comment from Colleen. She said, thank you for sharing your experience of love for Krishna. It gives us hope. I agree, Colleen. It definitely does. So thanks again, Haripriya, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, Sienna.
Thank you again to everyone who joined us today. We'll see you again on Monday at 7:30 p.m. to continue with Chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita.